Hello class, today we are going to be furthering our knowledge on decomposition as we've learned already what it is and how it affects us and our ecosystem, but we're going to do a fun activity today that kind of allows you to learn more about it and also have some fun while practicing what we have learned. So today's lesson is called Decomposition Drama. So as always, I want to start off with our objectives. So at the end of this, I want y'all to be able to understand the process of decomposition and the role of decomposers. And then I also want y'all to be able to identify key decomposers. Now we've talked about some of these already, so as you remember, fungi, bacteria, insects, and others as well. And then lastly, we are going to be able to demonstrate our understanding through dramatization, which is what I'll show you all later when we get to that slide. So, of course, we have our vocabulary. Now, we know some of these words, but some of them may be new, such as ecosystem and organic matter. So these will be our vocab for today, so please write these in your journals. And as you see definitions appear or you hear me talk about them, feel free to fill them out, and then whatever we don't have filled out at the end, we'll go ahead and go over those as well. Now, I want y'all to think about this question. You know, what happens when a leaf falls to the floor of the forest? You know, so like we see leaves fall all the time off of trees, you know, when they change colors, seasons change, and we see them fall to the ground. But you know, what happens after that? What do we notice? Right, they turn colors, they become more orange, some are red, and they turn brown. You see that brown is also part of decomposition. So something that you've seen every day you might not have known was a part of decomposing and how that affects our ecosystem and plays in the role of the food chain and just nature in general. So what is decomposition? Now I know this definition's up here, but who can explain it to me in terms that you understand? What do you understand to be decomposition? Right, yes. So it is how things die or things who are no longer needed in its original form will fall, and other people, such as decomposers, so those are our scavengers, fungi, bacteria, those will come along and break down those into simpler substances. Now I'm going to read this definition just so y'all have it as well and you can read it and add it to your journals. But decomposition is the process by which dead plants and animals are broken down into simpler substances. Like I said, decomposers, we all know them to be fungi, bacteria, earthworms, insects. We'll kind of get into some other ones later as well. Now the role in nature, I know we've discussed this already, but we're going to keep talking about it because it's so important. But the role in nature is that we, these decomposers recycle nutrients back into the soil. So these help our plants grow. These are what you see, pretty flowers, trees, different plants, vegetables as well. They also clean up the dead matter, the stuff that's no longer needed, stuff that's not useful. So now we are going to get into our role assignments. So I'm excited for this to see what you all create with this. I know you're all very creative. So I'm going to split you into 7 different groups, and each group will get one of these roles. So we're going to draw them out of a hat, and that role will be what you will be working with for this assignment. So now let's take some time to draw our roles. Now that we've drawn our roles and we're in our groups, I'll kind of explain the activity. So the groups, you and your group will act out decomposition in sequence. So this will be, you'll use your movements, use narration, and get creative with it. You know, you can have a lot of fun. We all love to act out different things, so this will be fun as well. So one example I want to give y'all on how to act out decomposition. So a leaf falls, a worm will find it, and then bacteria spreads on it from that worm, and the worm's also eating it as well. And fungi can grow, and then that fungi will break down more of that matter and turn it into stuff that is useful for the planet. All right, now that we've all had time to create our role play and we've seen it all acted out, and we've enjoyed the different role plays that we've all created, I want to take some time for us to ask questions and also to think about these 3 questions that I have for you all. So does anybody have any questions that they've come up with while watching the different role play assignments? Awesome. Those questions were great. So let's look at these discussion questions that I have for you all. So the first one being, what part of decomposition did you act out? Alrighty, the next question is, what would happen without decomposers? Does anyone know? Right, without decomposers, we'd have a lot of waste and not useful matter just kind of all over the planet. And this might be bad. Once it all builds up, it could be unlivable. So you really don't realize how much these decomposers really help out our planet. You know, some of them are really, really small creatures and some that we don't even see every day. But they play a big role in keeping our Earth the way that we know it to be. Now lastly, how do decomposers help the ecosystem? Yes, we just talked a little bit about this, but they help our ecosystems by keeping the life cycle going. You know, once things die, once they're no longer needed in its original form, they do break down that matter, like we said, and this helps give back to our planet. So the same way that we've discussed, you know, how we can do our part through like recycling or a compost bin, they have their role in our ecosystem as well. And so that is their role, and that is how they will continue to keep the world moving and have a place for us to live that is healthy and a good life for us. Anyone have any questions? Alrighty. Well, that is at the end of the lesson, so thank you all so much for all your hard work today. I loved getting to see your role plays and seeing all your creativity come out. And then we'll pick this up on our next lesson where we look at different ways for us to master this content. Now that we've gone through different aspects of decomposition, we want to become masters at it and be able to memorize the definitions, our vocabulary, and memorize how decomposition affects our ecosystem.